Assalamualaikum. My name is Sabaria Saleh from LG 702, semester 3 part-time. Together with my partner Nur Shakirah binti Zuradin, we will present the Chinese food culture that are very much different from our Malay culture. My topic for this photo video is chopsticks as a cultural symbol in China, and later Shakirah will present her own topic. Ever use a pair of chopsticks? I'm sure most of us have tried or have used chopsticks. Whether appropriately or inappropriately is yet to be examined. We may assume we knew that chopsticks is embedded in China eating culture since years ago. But do we really know about this eating culture? You may pick up a pair of chopsticks to slurp up some noodles or enjoy a plate of sushi. But far from being just useful eating tool, chopsticks are also a cultural symbol that reflects the unique tradition of people across Asia. In this photo video, I will examine the culture of chopsticks, mainly from Chinese perspective. One can have a meal without chopsticks, which was stated in the Book of Rites. In the Book of Rites, it was recorded that chopsticks were used during the Shang dynasty in 1600 BC to 1700 BC. It was mentioned in Xinji by Si Maiqian, the Chinese history record, that Zhao, the last king of Shang dynasty, used ivory chopsticks. It is around 1100 BC. The steel chopsticks excavated by archaeologists engraved from the Shang dynasty in Anyang, Henan province is proved to be earlier than the late Shang dynasty. Obviously, it is the product of the earlier dynasty. Bronze chopsticks were invented in Western Zhou dynasty in 1100 BC to 771 BC. Lacquer chopsticks were found in Mawangdui, China around 2006 BC to 24 AD during Western Han Dynasty, when Western Han Dynasty existed. Amber and silver chopsticks became popular in Tang Dynasty in 608 to 907. It was thought that silver chopsticks could detect poisons in food. It started as a tool for cooking, capable to reach deep into boiling pots of water or oil. It is historically indicated that early chopsticks were used mainly for cooking. Experts consider the history of wood or bamboo chopsticks can be dated back to about 1000 years earlier than ivory chopsticks. They broke down branches to get cooked food out of a pot. It was impossible to take out food by hand because it was so hot. Thus, they came up with a way of using branches to pick up food. By 10th century, rice also took its place as a staple in Chinese dining. Cooked rice was sticky and clumpy enough to be transported from bowl to mouth by chopsticks, and spoons quickly lost their title as the most popular eating utensils, since chopsticks were more versatile. This also happened when a population boom across China sapped resources and forced cooks to develop cost-saving habits. They begin chopping food into smaller pieces that require less cooking fuel and happen to be perfect for the tweezer-like grip of chopsticks. A food became bite-sized, knife became more or less obsolete, and the use of chopsticks is in perfect harmony with the teachings of Confucius. As a vegetarian, he believed that sharp utensils at the dinner table will remind eaters of the slaughterhouse. He also thought that knife sharp points evoke violence and warfare, killing the happy, contented mood that should reign during meals. Thanks in part to this teaching, chopsticks use quickly became widespread throughout Asia. Chopsticks spread to Japan, Korea, and Vietnam in 500 CE, and later spread to the whole world, where it traveled along with Chinese culture. Food has become a cultural show in today's society. When food from single nation becomes in another, it leads to a sort of cultural interchange. China delivers a deep tradition of food culture which has spread around the globe. Whether, whether a Chinese person is living in China or abroad, they cherish their bond with chopsticks. Chopsticks are representative of Chinese culture. Whenever and wherever Chinese people are, they find it difficult to have a meal without chopsticks. According to statistics, over 1.8 billion people use chopsticks. Chopsticks culture has great significance around the world, having become a common culture marker of the circle of Chinese food culture, which includes many other Asian countries and the world, such as Chopsticks Days in Japan, Golden Chopsticks Award in France, and in South Korea, there are chopsticks lessons in primary school. Chopstick also symbolize unity. It is a value but is imparted in family education. A chopstick can be broken easily. 10 pairs of chopsticks hold each other tightly. Song by Fu Disheng, a well-known singer in China. Indeed, a chopstick is so useless and delicate that it can be broken very easily. However, 10 pairs of 10 pairs of chopsticks possess strength, which is indestructible under any circumstances. All Chinese people draw on this unity and spirit with which they boost perseverance and power. It will always influence, inspire, and encourage people. Public Service Announcement (PSA) use chopstick as a party state sanctioned metaphor that united all families across China, promised happiness, and reinforced national identity. It was broadcasted by CCTV during the 2014 Spring Festival Gala. Chopsticks were chosen as the central multimodal metaphor because of the link between them and an idea of Chinese. Chopsticks not only transmit food but also emotion, and more importantly, they direct the viewer's attention to the state sanctioned values and behaviors that promise happiness. The Chinese belief behind the correct use of the chopsticks is that the chopsticks are pinched by thumb, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger, while index finger reach out, which refers to limb. Analogy of chopstick is it is an extension of one's fingers. It is said that 85% of people use chopstick with right hand, 10% of people use chopstick with left hand, and another 5% of people can use with both hands. It is held that people using chopstick with their left hands are cleverer than the others, and those who use both the hand are exceptionally genius people. Chopsticks is a divine art of Chinese culture. Chinese, they play their role in custom, rituals, and ceremonies. These include the traditional beliefs, value, and taboos. It is a custom in some regions to give chopsticks as a gift to a newly wedded couple. It is a wish to have a baby and treated as popular good wishes in China. Giving chopsticks to your family or friends is also good as it means that you will always remember about them and will be there whenever they need your support. Many Chinese people say that to be able to pick up the food from the plate using chopsticks doesn't mean to know how to use them. The cultural aspects are not less important. There is a number of traditions, beliefs, and taboos you have to know before taking them in hand. Among them are, don't put your chopstick first before your elder. It signifies that eating manner where the elder should eat first before you do. While using chopsticks, do not wave your chopstick around in the air too much, as it is very rude and signifies poor upbringing. Chinese people usually don't beat their bowls while eating, since this behavior is practiced by beggar. Knocking your chopsticks on table bare is a sign of begging. Don't stir food with your chopsticks to find what you want. This is very rude and unhygienic. Never stick chopsticks into your food, especially not into rice. If your chopsticks stick into rice straight, only at funeral are chopsticks stuck into rice on an altar. They look like joysticks. Do not eat food straight from the serving dishes. When food is served, the proper ethic is to take the food with the chopsticks and place it on your own plate before eating it. Do not let your chopsticks hover over food while deciding on what food to take. When you use your chopsticks while your hands hover in indecision over the food on table, it is considered greedy. Do not lick the end of your chopstick. Our mouth contains 500 to 1,000 kinds of bacteria, with many diseases related to oral bacteria. With that said, keep the spreading of your saliva to a minimum. Do not stab food with your chopsticks. That's right, no digging or stabbing of food. Always remember that chopsticks are always used together, and when you use your chopstick to stab the food, it is considered very rude. Do not rest chopsticks on your bowl. It literally means a chopsticks bridge in Japan. By placing your chopsticks on top of the bowl, it can mean that you are not enjoying the food, and it could be an insult to the chef. Do place the chopstick down before you start having a conversation. Do you always talk with your hand? If you do, you should put your chopstick down before you start waving your utensils in the air. Also remember that using them to point at someone is considered as bad manner, and chopsticks are not weapons. Do not share food by passing from chopsticks to chopsticks. This also resembles Japanese traditional ritual customs during a Japanese funeral when cremated bones are transferred to the urn, as this is considered to be probably the biggest taboo over the dinner table in Japanese, so ensure you avoid this at all times. Do not cross your chopstick. It is said that crossed chopstick represent death itself in China. Do not use unmatched chopsticks. This is not only look funny, it is also a reminiscent of some funeral rites. Do not let your chopstick fall to the ground. At a meal, it is discautious if chopsticks accidentally fall to the ground because Chinese people believe falling chopsticks stand for a disturbance of buried ancestors. But is the chopsticks only meant for food? Chopsticks have been used in science, especially in robotic and medical. It is known as chopstick technique, especially used in surgery that can improve surgical efficiency and reducing surgical footprint. Is chopsticks ever been harmful? In a study conducted by Louis G. et al. 2020, SARS-CoV RNA detection on disposable wooden chopsticks, the finding was severe acute respiratory syndrome on disposable wooden chopsticks used by 5 consecutive asymptomatic and false symptomatic patients admitted for isolation and care at the hospital were detected. Their findings may suggest potential for transmission through shared eating utensils. But chopsticks has their own benefit. In one study by Shimomura et al. 2020, what is the significance of the traditional pinching mode of holding chopsticks? The finding shows that the traditional mode of holding chopsticks was associated with not only high task performance but also an advantage in terms of learning motor control. In another study, early impairment of chopstick skill in Parkinson suggests progressive supranuclear palsy impairments in chopstick skill were more common in PSP than in PD during the early stage of Parkinson. It suggests that early functional impairment of chopstick skill can be used as a warning sign for PSP. Manipulating chopstick to pick up food requires fine motor skill and brain-hand coordination. Study also show that engaging concentrated area of nerve cells in your fingertips directly stimulate your brain. Say Dr. Moshing, author of Second Spring. Another research show that eating with chopsticks lowers the glycemic index of the food you consume thanks to the way it makes you eat. Because eating with chopsticks means eating less at a time and eating more slowly, the glycemic index of the food decreases. It leads into the belief that eating with chopsticks lead to feeling more satisfied with less food and you can lose some weight. Failure in observing cultural differences may give a huge impact in relationship and business, individually and globally. Playing with chopsticks in China is not funny. There was a controversy over DNG eating with chopstick ad in 2018. The campaign used this cultural symbol in a completely different way, with the result that it was accused of being offensive, stereotyping, and even sexist and racist. The campaign has been criticized widely by netizens as being racist and sexist by choosing a model with small I, which is stereotype beauty standard for East Asian women to American and European. And the male voiceovers comment on the Sicilian Conolo, do you think it's still too big, had a clear sexual overtone. The choice of using chopsticks here was commented as didn't translate into a blending of Eastern and Western elements, but rather turned out to be a mess. The video was seen as portraying a stereotyping ancient China and implied the inferiority of Chinese food, as the voice-over emphasized the great differences between Italian pasta and langzhou whole noodles. Generally arrogant and perspective tone hints that Chinese people are ignorant and are being talked down as if they were children. These many negative comments lead the ad to be removed from Chinese social media within 24 hours of posting them. And the incident does not stop there. It followed by a shared screen of an alert chat between designer Stefano Gabbana and an Instagram user, in which designer Gabbana appeared to call China a country of poop emojis and ignorant dirty smelling mafia. It's been over, and within 2 hours, hundreds of Chinese actors and models who were to walk the runway that evening had withdrawn. DNG Chinese ambassador Wang Junkai also terminated his deal with DNG. This led to the show being cancelled by the Cultural Affairs Bureau of Shanghai. These these two incidents lead to the removal of DNG products on few China's e-commerce giant in-store and online. Domenico and Stefano Gabbana subsequently acknowledged their mistake, asked for forgiveness, then promised to work hard to understand and respect Chinese culture better. They ended their message by saying sorry in Chinese, but it was a spilled milk. On another note, there are traditional elements of both Italian and Chinese culture, which are equally stereotyped in the video ads. Eating Italian food with chopsticks was selected as funny cross-culture challenge to convey the eccentric and provocative message, "Are you DNG enough?" rather than as a deliberate insult to Chinese culture and the Chinese. But the creative team behind Eating with Chopsticks ended up showing a lack of cultural sensitivity. If you are really interested in chopsticks, you may want to visit the Kuisi Museum in Shanghai. The museum collected over 1,000 pairs of chopsticks, and the oldest one was from the Tang Dynasty. This is all from me. My partner Nur Shakira will continue with her photo voice. Thank you. Assalamualaikum. My name is
1600s to 1046, the people at this time worshipped many deities, including natural forces and elements such as rain, clouds, rivers, mountains, the sun, the moon, and the earth. Their greatest deity, Shangdi, remains as important god in the Chinese pantheon. Taoism, these two religions' tradition had the similar aim or view. Confucianism, the basic aim of Confucianism is to live in harmony with the way of heaven by carrying out the duties and responsibility appropriate to one's position in society. Ancestor worship and reference to family are fundamental elements of Confucianism. Rituals to honor ancestors are extremely important and must be performed in precise way. While Taoism is about the same time as Confucianism, these religious traditions had its role in the nature worship of the earliest Chinese people. The word Ta means we, and Taoism belief is based on the idea that there is a natural order or a way of heaven that one can come to know by living in harmony with nature. While Buddhism, another one of the religion traditions, the basic principle of Buddhism is that all suffering comes from early desire, and only by eliminating desire can one gain happiness. Buddhism believes that humans live many lives and are continually reincarnated to a new form of existence after death. An individual's action in previous life, known as karma, determine what type of existence that person has after rebirth. The highest school of Buddhism is to escape the cycle of death and rebirth by achieving enlightenment and entering a timeless state known as nirvana, in which one is free of all desire. March 2016, typical of Chinese ancestor worship, when Kuan Yi's fathers passed away in Hong Kong. As you can see at the picture now, a temporary shrine was set up in the family home. A continuous supply of chow steak and 3 meals a day populates his shrine. At certain annual festivals like Chinese New Year, Qingming, and Hungry Ghost, food and drinks offerings form an important part of paying respect to deities and etc., as well as means to ask for help and protection for the living. A complete dinner may include a chicken in its entirety, including the head, feet, heart, and acting edge, pork, and a vegetarian dish, sweet round dumplings, fruit, raw leaf and root vegetable, rice, wine, and tea are offered in a sequence of important to deities such as the Bodhisattva Guanyin and Taoist Wong Tai Sin, and then to a center. Alongside real food, there are also paper and card-crafted versions of affordable everyday foods such as dim sum, sushi, and fruit, as well as more elaborate and costly dishes such as roast piglets, bird nest, and shark fin soup. These pepper foods for the deeds and spirits are burned as offerings with incense, candles, juice pepper, representing spirit money, gold and silver, and also paper clothes in a various style, at home, at temples, by graveside, or in a public columnaria. As in life, the importance of Chinese food culture means that there are many pepper dishes, ingredients, and varieties of meal produced for essential worship, and especially shops this sit beside luxury brand handbags, watches, laptops, and mobile phones. Even cigarettes come with help runnings for the day. The representations of these foods and lifestyle accessories are mass-produced, while larger, more elaborate paper and bamboo sculpture forms of afterlife necessities and desirables such as houses, restaurants, cars, bridge, mahjong tables with convenience players, servants, and even pets are being made by a small number of Christ people, often only for funerals. One of the Chinese women shared that when offering real food for the dead, this can be smelled or by associations be touched by the many spirits wandering around. That's been potentially diminishes the recipient's portions.